Hello everyone, this is Zara Makinol, a BSED student of Norso Main Campus. Today I will be having my Pecha Kucha presentation entitled The Addie Model Instructional Design. This was adapted from Dr. Sehat Kurt of 2018. The Addie model has five phases, and these five phases are: first is to analyze, second is to design, third, develop, fourth, implement, and lastly, which is to evaluate. Introduction. It has a wide acceptance and use because educators believe that these stages have a clear defined facilities implementation of effective training tools. It was originally designed in 1950, developed by the US Air Force of the Florida State University. It is simply a device to help us think through a course design because though the model appears linear, it does not have to be followed rigidly or in a linear approach, especially if you have already have a course materials developed for this one. Several revisions of the stages have been made. This following are the most seen phases. So throughout it in the mid 1980s, several revisions have been made and today the influence of the Addie method can be seen on the most ID models being used. We have here the analysis stage, wherein it is called the goal setting stage, where the focus of the designer in this phase is on the target audience. Also, to distinguish what the students already know and what they should know, what they should focus on the lessons, and that students have yet to explore and learn. What to determine? You have to determine your goals. What is the target group? What are the educational goals? What is your required skills? Intelligence and outlook and physical reaction. What popular methods to improve? Or what clarified and to improve on? The next is your target objectives on the project. What instructional goals does the project focus on? Your learning environment. Is it live or online discussions? The limiting factors. Determine what limiting factors exist with respect to resources. Let us move on to the second one, which is design. You have to determine your goals, the tools to be used to gauge performance, various tests, subject matter analysis, planning, and resources. Strict and specific rules and elements of instructional designs used and media selection. What to determine? The type of media to be used. Audio, video, and graphics are prime examples. You have to resources. What resources do you have? Types of activities and approach. The time frame of the activities. How much time is to be assigned to each tasks? Skills to be developed. Do you have a way of determining that such values have been indeed achieved by the students? The roadmap of the study or project will appear on paper. You have to have the feedback mechanisms you will use to determine if the participants are able to digest the lessons. Lastly, design. We have here the third phase, which is development. The stage starts from production and testing of the methodology being used in the project. In this stage, collected data from the two previous stages and use this information to create a program that will relay what needs to be taught to the participants. It aims to adhere to what has been accomplished through the materials. Are you creating materials as per schedule? The next one is you have to make sure that the members are working together. Do you see the team across various participants? These are the questions that you need to consider. Next is you have to analyze their contributions. Are the participants contributing as their optimal capacity? Next is to know the use of materials used. Are the materials produced up to task on what they're intended for? Next is the implementation. It is the stage that reflects on the modification of the program to make sure maximum efficiency and positive results are obtained. Next is the proper procedure. It is the key word here. Most of the real work is done here as IDs and students work hand in hand to train on new tools so that the design can be continuously evaluated. What to determine? You have to determine the preferred record keeping as well as the actual data you would like to have from the students. Emotional feedback given to you by the teachers and students during the initial implementation of the project, dealing with errors and backup data tools. Next is you have to have the project proceeds. Do you see that IDs are able to grasp the topic immediately or do they need help? You have the scale. On which scale? Is it in a smaller scale or the larger scale? And lastly, the groupings, wherein you will assess if the student can work independently or as a constant guidance required. Next part is the evaluation, wherein it is about the testing stage, where project is being subjected to meticulous final testing regarding what, how, why, and when of the things that were accomplished. It is a formative and summative phase. These are the essential steps. First is to evaluate the effectiveness. On what factors or criteria will the effectiveness of the project will be determined? You have to analyze the feedback, the effectivity of the product, and lastly, you have to know what to revise depending on the feedback of the students. You have to method analyze response. How is the clarity of the instructions assessed? Assess instruction, you need to analyze and grade the response of the participants on the project. Determine who receives the final output, who will prepare this report on the results of the evaluation. That would be all, and thank you for listening to my discussion about the Addie model.